Hi guys, it's Jason and Nicole here from the Udderfarm. We're on the trial property today. I'm going to do a few Q&A questions. It's mainly from family and friends. They're sort of wondering how we keep cattle, obviously behind me the beef cattle, how do we keep them contained in one polywire? Like I said now, they can range from 250 to 700 kilos and they can't understand how one polywire can keep the animals in. That's the first question I'll answer when I get down there. The second question is how much grass do they require, or am I leaving on the ground before I move them? And the last question is, how do you move the animals without having to herd them up? Like, a lot of people out there think that, you know, that they've got a mind of their own. How can you move them? One's going to go one way, one's going to go the other way. There's no way you can herd them up. They're going to jump the wires, they're going to run through. So they're the three questions that I'll be answering in demonstrations when I head closer. So what we'll do, guys, is I'll start heading the paddock now and I'll answer those specific questions when we get down there. Righto guys, we'll catch you in the paddock. Righto guys, we're here in the paddock now. What I'm going to demonstrate first is the question and the answer for number 3, which was, how do you move the cattle from one area to the other without rounding them up and having issues with them jumping the fence? What I'm going to do for this, so I've got Nicole on the back of the camera.
Hey everybody.
And I've also got Nicole's daughter Sky. She's going to do this demonstration for me. She's never worked with animals in her life. She comes to the farm. She just likes feeding the animals a bit of bread every now and then, and that's probably the extent she's had. To show you how easy it is, I'll get Sky to go down and open the gate, and you'll see what happens once that gate's touched. Right, Sky, I guess you go down and open that gate up. Just be careful, Sky, it's going to be hot. So we haven't turned the line off, guys. It's still hot. So if she touches that wire, holy. Forgot about the fence and I just backed onto that hot wire. That's how much it tickled. Right, Sky, you might have to say that magic word.
Come girls.
Come on, girls. Come on, girls. Give them time. See all that clover in front of you? They've stopped. That's an issue. When the grass is that good, they just step into the gateway and they don't want to go any further. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. Good girls. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. Well, this is working out to be a success. There's a brilliant bit of clover right there at the gateway and no one wants to move on in. This could be sitting here for half an hour while they move through that clover. Come on, girls. Good girls. Good girls. See how labour intensive this is, guys? So I'm doing so much here, like, you know, they're wild animals. They want to jump the wire. They're out of control. Yeah, come on. Come on, girls. Come on. Good girls. Good girls. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. In we come. Good girls. Just have a look at them munching away. That's the sound of dollars, guys. For every mouthful, they're putting on weight. They're loving it. Like I said, this is the trial property, so everything I do here, I take successes from here out to the Udderfarm. The Udderfarm, like I mentioned the other day, I'm still continuous grazing out there. So I've got absolutely no grass out there whatsoever. So these girls have just moved in this week, so believe you me, this is quite a treat considering they're just used to hay for the last several months during winter. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. Do you hear that? Look at that. See, when they're eating, the cows use their tongue to graze with. It just if you watch her tongue, he actually wraps it around the grass and she pulls that grass out. And see how they're only taking the top of the grass off? Then they'll take a few steps and they'll move on. And that's what you want. You don't want them sitting in the one spot, just eating that grass down to the ground. Good girl. Good girl. Absolutely loving it. So what we'll do, guys, is we'll actually walk around, we'll duck beside them now and we'll go back into the paddock and I'll show you what they've actually eaten, which is another question was raised, how much am I leaving behind? So if Nick wants to, if I just follow me around, the cows should be pretty well right. They'll just move down the paddock. Good girl. Good girl. And now we can have Sky closing the gate. We're running up there, guys, because they've seen all that long grass, and you can't tell me that's not one excited animal. If they weren't excited to be here, they wouldn't be jumping around like that. They're happy to move. Like, if you come over here to what they've come out of, that's what they've come out of. So they've left me with 2/3 of that grass left. So they're happy to make this move. They're happy to make the move because they've done their job here. If you have a look, they've urinated there. They've done poos everywhere. So what we'll do is I'll walk through this paddock and show you what they've done and why potentially there's areas left why they're not eating. That's why they're happy to move, guys. We don't need to do anything. Sky done all that by herself. All she had to do, untrained with animals, lifted that gate, moved it. They were happy to go. Every morning and every afternoon, Jen and I come out and they are mooing, waiting for me or hurrying me up because they want to move, because they know that that salad bar, if you compare that area that Nicole's going to show you now with directly what's behind Nicole, which they're going into, all this grass, all this legumes and way of the clover, they are waiting to be moved. We don't do anything. And this is what it's like, guys. It's easy as that. It's easy as that. So what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll show you guys what they're actually leaving behind. So if we come in this paddock, see, this is what they're leaving behind. So they're leaving me 2/3 of that plant. So if we have a general look over here, I'll show you a few areas. So they've trimmed it off the top. Have a look around, it's all been chewed off, you know, all been chewed off. And that's, you know, it's probably up just below my knee, a lot of it. Some of it's a bit more, you know, I've got about 200 mil here, you know, but that's quite good. The only areas you'll see flattened is actually where they've actually either had a sleep during the day when they've been ruminating. So they've been ruminating and eating the grass, the cud. And where they've trampled it, like areas like this. So that's the only area you're really going to see that's laid down. The rest of it is generally great. Like, I'm happy with this. This is probably a good point to move them on. You don't want to go any more than really that 30% of the plant, because it's going to take a lot longer to recover than it would if it was at that 60% remaining. It'll just cover, because there's more of a solar panel you're leaving. You're leaving more solar panel with the leaf on. You got 60% solar panel. If you go any lower, you're really not using the sun and the carbon. You're limited to the solar panel of your plant if you go any lower than that. So this will recover twice as fast, 4 times as fast as if you just went that below 50% mark. And with timing, guys, it's a hard question. People also ask, this is an additional bonus question, people also ask, how long do you leave the grass for before you bring them back in? And that's a hard question. In winter time, it's very hard. It could be like I didn't graze this property for the 2 or 3 months over winter. I didn't want to, I had stock out there, I was feeding them hay, and I just didn't, it wasn't quite recovered for me enough. So what I say to that question is the easy way to have a look. I'll give you an example. Say here, for example, they've actually eaten, You see where they've eaten the top of that grass. So the top of that grass there is flat on top. And that's like that in the whole paddock. You'll know when your grass is recovered, that will come back to a spike on the end. I'll grab one from the neighbouring paddock here where they haven't chewed yet. So basically that's what it looks like before they chew it. So they've taken a third off. So you wait till that tip comes right back and it's fully recovered across the majority of your paddock, then you know your grass is recovered and it's ready to be eaten. So that's why we know. Tell me they're not excited, guys. They're running up behind me, beside me, everywhere. So that covers the grass. Now, the second question that I got asked, so I said, how do you keep them in one wire? I probably answered that question when I was leaning against the fence over there. When I got that jolt, I forgot the fence was there and I actually backed onto that wire while Sky was opening the gate and it zapped me in the arse. It doesn't need to be a physical barrier. That's what people think. You want a good physical barrier for your perimeter fences because the last thing you want are your animals out on the road or in your neighbour's property. Electric fences are a psychological barrier. It's a mental barrier. I've been hit by fences a few times. All those people that have been hit by electric fence, it doesn't tickle, but also it's not excruciating, but it's enough for your brain to recognise that's painful. So that's what the cows do. New cows we have come in here, they'll tempt the fence. They'll actually go up, they'll sniff that with a wet nose or the back, but tell you what, once they get jolted once, I reckon they jump 2 or 3 metres back in that paddock. You do that 2 or 3 times and they will not go that fence because it's association with their brain that hurts. And that's all it takes, guys. That is all it takes. The fence could be off and the girls won't go near it now because they've been trained. We've got a program where we bring all our weaners in here. The old girls, a lot of the old girls on the farm haven't been through this process yet. So we bring our weaners in here. When we're weaning them off, this is the process they go straight on with. It's a great idea and it's the centre we come up with any breeding stock. We'll teach them at a young age. That way we won't have any issues when they're older. Some of the older cows may tempt the barrier. Like we've got girls that jump over 5-strand barbed wires. So, but the younger stock, why not breed them from the start, guys? If you've got any weaners, it's a good time to introduce them to this kind of pasture grazing. I think I've covered the 3 questions, guys. Covered the gate, how we move them, covered what's left. The only thing I haven't covered is we don't use fertilisers. Like I said, I won't use a synthetic fertiliser because it destroys the biology. We have used fertilisers in the past on here, and we've used a lot of worming solutions or injections or pour-ons on our cows in the past. If I have a look in one of these piles, guys, what it does if you use too much synthetic fertilisers or poisons on your animals, I've got to find a grass which is high. And there's a reason why these grasses are high, guys. Like I said, guys, there's a reason why this is left high. I could walk through this paddock and say, why is that high, why is this high? And it wasn't until I started learning, you know, I was leaving the cattle in here a bit longer than anticipated because I thought, why aren't they touching the grass? There's so much grass spots high. I don't want to move out. They should be eating it. But what it is basically, here's one in the open. Exactly. It's a cow pad that hasn't broken down. Since we've decreased the amount of poisons we put on our animals, whether it be for worming or whether it be ticks, whatever, and we haven't used the synthetic fertilisers, a lot of our cow poos now come in a day or 2 later and you'll actually find beetles, dung beetles in the cow manure. Because you've limited your chemicals on the animals and in the ground. Those chemicals were killing the dung beetles. That's why they're still sitting there. They'll be there forever. Not forever, but they'll break down in a couple of months' time. Before I had to go around the paddock, I used to use a quad and a bit of steel, Rio mesh. And I used to have to drag that around the paddock to break down the paddies like this. Not knowing that it was the cause of the poisons that we used on the property and the animals, you minimised or killed the dung beetles and also the biology in the ground. But now, having limited the amount, a lot of my dungs are gone, so I haven't got that issue of grass being left tall and have to search for it. But if there's no dung, generally if it's long grass, it's where they've urinated. Another cow will smell that and they will not eat that grass. I think I've just about covered everything, guys. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you may be watching this, and we'll catch us later.